So next we have the pre-battle and battle themes. Inventionier harpsichord version by Hagel. I like this version better than the piano one. It's in a different key signature too. Usually I give the major story bosses their own theme for their battle background music, but at this point I hadn't yet decided that I definitely wanted to have Chantal join the party during Arietta's Uncommon Time, and it was neater to have the continuation from the first boss in Audrey's Uncommon Time. None of Chantal's theme music is really appropriate as boss background music anyway. Okay. Winter Movement 1. Famous Classical Music Sound Library. From Vivaldi's Four Seasons. Given the thematic material of the game, it'd be negligent not to use this piece somewhere. The final boss is a little different in Ending 1 and Ending 2, so I decided to give it separate background music for each version. Cool. Minimum Battle, Dream Orgel Factory. It's a little unusual to have a unique battle background music for one tier of a character's uncommon time, but I wanted the track to be something that reflected Arietta's age at this point of the flashback. The standard battle background music for the rest of her scenes doesn't have the right feel. This piece itself is kind of unusual for this composer, and it's kind of cool to have a music box only combat background music. Drums, Soldier Company. Another soldier piece for Arietta's standard battle background music. The enemies are about the same strength as the ones you fight in Uncommon Time 3, but because you only ever have 2 party members at the most in Grand Pause, they can be tough. Slapstick, Ongaku no Tamago. This background music is only ever used for the penalty mini-boss if you answer Poetico's quiz questions wrong. That mini-boss can be challenged over and over, so it's a good place to level grind if you need to. Yes, it was. The quiz itself might be a little tough for non-strings players. I admit at this late date. Yes, I had no idea. I just did trial and error until I got it right. Inventionier piano version by Hagel. Oh, this is the other one as well. Okay. I actually prefer the harpsichord version of this piece, so I decided to save it for the boss battle with Chantal. This piano version is played for both the grave robbing mini-boss and for the first boss in Aubrey's Uncommon Time. Flowing Clouds, Aoi Tori no Uta. The background music for the scene where you discover the distortion at the top of Metronome Tower. From the beginning, Uncommon Time was always going to be a game with no main villainous figure, so the distortion serving as final boss fits better than with the themes of overcoming your past and failures. Yeah, that makes sense. Amber Love, Conte de Fées. This track is very cute. It's only used for a few pre-battle scenes, unfortunately. Ah. Denzians of Darkness Census Circuit. I like this track quite a lot, so I'm actually a little sorry that I used it so sparingly. The harpsichord is very stylish. Land of the Wee Kind Folk by H-Mix. The pre-battle track that saw the most use. I like the opening percussion. Strategy Meeting by H-Mix. I like this background music a lot, but for all of that, I didn't use it very often. Part 3. just aren't that many confrontations in the game where this kind of courageous, upright background music are really suitable for the mood. The part 3 threw me off. Battle 2, RPG Maker VX Ace RDB. So, I had trouble finding battle background music that I liked back at the beginning. Then when I was looking at the ARP TP songs, I thought, this is nice. And so I wound up using it. But then I decided to use different tracks for the different parts of the story. So it was back to square one for me. Game development is all about causing unnecessary trouble for yourself. Ultimata by Hagel. The battle background music used in Movement 2. First introduced to players as background music for the fake last boss and Escape from Metronome Tower. The tense and frantic feel of the key change made it perfect for expressing the chaotic feel of both the event and much of Movement 2. This piece is the game developer's favorite standard background music, so when the tester complained that the previous movement was better, of course the response was a resounding, well, too bad. But you didn't hear that here, of course. I brought this piece back for Arietta's dream sequence in Tier 3 of her Uncommon Time too. I really like it. Sortie for Victory, Del Segno. That one. I was about at my wit's end due to my problems finding good battle songs, and then I found this piece just in time. My favorite part is the end, so I'm sort of glad that the battles toward the beginning of the movement generally last long enough for this piece to loop back around. Metempsychosis by Sildred Company. Well, that's creepy. Oh, it got louder. The actual term refers to the concept of transmigration in ancient Greek philosophy. But my first exposure to this background music was as a battle theme in another game, so it's pretty firmly reserved for boss fights in my head. The balance between the boss background music and the ambient background noise of the tuning as area background music works really well, I think. Fortress of Sand, H-Mix. This is a pretty short battle theme compared with the length of the fight with Teagan. Tell me about it. However, when I discussed my concerns with my tester team, I was told not to worry about it. I'm glad because I really like this background music. It's very gallant and cool. I really like the bagpipe part at the very end of the track. Battle 12, Ongaku Banzai. Cool in a very different sense from the monster boss background music. It's very long, so you might have heard the whole thing except in the tag team battles in Anacrusis. The monster bosses are more like obstacles than anything else, but the spirit bosses are story important and are actual characters. So it felt natural for them to have their own generic background battle theme separate from the monsters. It Will Surely Repeat by Rengoku Tan. This is dubbed almost too cool of a background music to waste on a chicken box by one tester. Speaking of the monster bosses, the reason they all explode is because the same tester was so delighted with the explosion animation that plays when the Hellbird is defeated. I thought it was funny and was glad to get a reaction like that, so I went ahead and did it with all the monsters. Yeah, I really enjoyed that they explode, too. Battle Song by Fikusel. The world music and jazz combination is amazing. The MP3 version ends in a fade-out, so I'm using the OGG version, which is an endless loop. The only problem with that is that once I start listening to it, it's hard to stop. Arietta, Altair, and Chantal are all so overpowered that they have no trouble with any bosses, so this relaxed theme works well. Symphony in D minor, Movement 3, Famous Classical Music Sound Library. This is a Frank piece, and one that I've personally played in concert before. It's the only movement in D major. I'm of the personal opinion that the whole point of the piece is the bit around 4 minutes or so in, where the cello section gets the main melody and all. It's kind of a shame that I wasn't able to find a strings-only arrangement. This piece is a lot more upbeat and optimistic than Winter, which suits the events of ending 1 better. Okay. Character and main themes. Well, I guess we'll start over here. Speakaberry, Ongaku no Tamago, Alto and Aubrey's theme. Oh, I guess together. The moment I saw this piece's title, it was instantly decided that I was going to use it as something Aubrey-related, as long as I liked it even a little. It has their surname in it, of course I'll have to use it. As the main couple's love theme, this piece gets played rather a lot. It's very cute and sweet. I personally prefer the music box version to the piano one, but I saved that for the 4th ending theme specifically because of it. Yeah, that makes sense. Koroipom Orgel Ongaku no Tamago. The music box version of Saki and Meirin's relationship theme. The magic of music boxes is that they can sound either cuter or sadder than other instruments based on how you deploy them. So anyway, with the slower tempo of this version of the piece, I used it a lot for the pair's more serious scenes. And Meirin's more serious solo scenes as well. I'm sorry, Meirin. The further the storyline progresses, the more often this gets used instead of the piano version. Koroipom Ongaku no Tamago. So this is the same song, but piano. A light and cheerful piano piece. It's very cute, so I love it a lot. Saki and Meirin first become friends because of their personalities are very compatible, and out of Meirin's gratitude for his sticking up for her. While the relationship has got its own worrying points to it too, it's a lot less troubled than Alto Aubrey and Alto's friendship with Teagan, which makes for some good narrative contrasts. I wound up using this piece for some of Meirin's scenes where her theme wouldn't have worked, which caused some testers to believe that this piece is actually her theme. I'm sorry, Meirin. The Knights and the Youth, H-Mix. I really like the bold and serious piano part at the beginning. This was originally a candidate for Alto's theme, but I decided against it when I picked up Waltz of Fire. It's used in a lot of the early scenes that touch on Alto's past or Teagan's feelings towards the Cantabile family. And its seriousness, especially in comparison with the other relationship themes, ought to be one of the clues that something's not right here. After the final boss fight in Movement 2, this piece is used a lot less often. Yeah. Farandole, famous classical music sound library. This is one of our Arietta's moves, isn't it? Bizet from Larsienne. Yeah, Larsienne, maybe? I don't know. This is a piece that I performed in concert many, many times and have a deep emotional attachment to. It's too bad I wasn't able to find a strings-only arrangement to use for the game. Oh well. This piece is powerful and full of joy, so it's easy to link with Arietta's willful, super-genius personality. I was careful to save the full orchestra arrangement of Arietta's theme for her actual real-time appearance and boss fight. Hopefully it had the most impact that way. Farandole Orgel, Ongaku no Tamago. Oh, I see, so it's the music box version. A slower, more subdued version of the very beginning of the piece that's used as Arietta's theme during the earlier parts of the story. It's first placed in Movement 3 when Luminosa relates the creation of Uncommon Time. The music box only arrangement makes it feel a little lonely in comparison that the beginning of the piece is in a minor key adds to that effect. But the underside to Arietta's over-the-top personality is her sense of loneliness and isolation, so I actually think that this expresses her character pretty well. I used this piece a lot in order to save the full orchestra version for her boss battle. That makes sense. Passepede, Ongaku no Tamago. Shut up, phone. From Debussy's Suites Bergamasque. I had initially considered Dalsegno's piece Minstrel Song for Altair's theme, but I decided better of it given that so many classical piano pieces are available for free use and Altair himself is a pianist. This also gets to mean that the three characters from the past all got to have classical music as their themes, which makes for nice synchronicity even though I didn't do it on purpose. The changing moods of this piece make it well suited for use in all different kinds of scenes, so I was able to make use of it during the opening of Uncommon Time 2, during Altair's actual appearance and his lengthy boss fight. Black Keys, famous classical music sound library. One of my favorite Chopin's pieces. I've recently developed a massive Chopin bias that's all the fault of a certain late 2014, early 2015 anime. Chantal's a hidden character, and most of the context we have for her personality is her troubled relationship with Aubrey, so we don't always get to see her at her best. But she really is a bright and cheerful and energetic person at heart. So the vibrant and cute Black Keys felt very natural as her main theme. You don't actually get to hear the theme until Grand Pause, but you don't get to experience her in a non-Aubrey context until then either, so maybe that's actually natural. And It Became a Star by Dova Syndrome. A sweet, vaguely sad piece in waltz time. All hail the all-encompassing star motif. While this is Aubrey's theme, it's first heard during Saki's recruitment when it starts to snow. Largely a consequence of their own behavior or no, Aubrey's character is dominated by loneliness, wistfulness, and regret. Their character arc does have a possibility of a good conclusion, though, so this piece's soft and melancholy but comforting melody is a very good fit for them. Nutcrack Overture, famous classical music. Nutcracker, I said nutcrack, didn't I? The essential Tchaikovsky piece. During testing, I had people get very confused as to why Mayrin has a classical piece for her personal theme when she is so into avant-garde instead. It's supposed to be foreshadowing that she had classical training in the past. Mayrin's theme is the most cheerful of all the party characters, so I wasn't always able to use it for her important scenes. I'm sorry, Mayrin. She's the most cheerful character in the party, though, so of course she needs a cheerful theme. Yeah. Mayrin has a lot of contradictory elements to her character, but dichotomy is an important part of who she is. She's the most exuberant party member, but her self-esteem is also the most unstable. She is the youngest, but she has the most life experience, and so on and so forth. I also think it's pretty cute how she and Saki are the only party members with classical themes. Yeah. Arabesque No. 1, famous classical music sound library. Debussy, one of my favorite Debussy pieces. I don't know how to pronounce his name, so my mouth went weird there. Gentle, calm, and elegant. It's a perfect fit for Saki's main character theme. The other pieces associated with Saki and his relationship address his playful side and inner turmoil, but his main theme is all about how he presents himself as the calm, wise, unflappable team peacemaker and adult. Saki's layering of his own personality is constructed and deliberate, so he's associated with mass symbolism in a very different way from Alto. Saki's theme is the very first character theme to be played in the entire game. Huh. Dignity, Camellia. Mary, the composer's description of this piece on her website goes, "Stand tall and dignified no matter what you've thrown away and abandoned behind you." I fell in love with that introduction as much as the piece itself and instantly decided to make it Teagan's theme because it fit her so well. The real tragedy of Teagan's character is that at the core, she is a very kind person in her own rough way. But her arrogant self-appointment as Alto's caretaker has warped her into a harsh and abusive parody of her true intentions, and really seriously damages her capacity to express her natural kindness in a non-harmful way. This piece itself is first played during the scene where Teagan offers to tutor Mayrin, which is one of her first genuinely kind acts in-game, and the first demonstration the player gets of the kind of person she might really be under the thick layer of controlling jerk. I love the sense of loneliness and pride in this piece and the vulnerability of the music box arrangement. Oh, I didn't read that. Oh, well. Waltz of Fire and Gaku Banzai. Compared to the other character themes in the game, Alto's isn't heard for a very long time. It's first during the title dungeon. The initial timing is mostly due to how important that part of the game is to Alto's character arc. But the dramatic changes in the melody and instrumentation actually make it very difficult to use. I'm kinda sorry that I wasn't able to use it in more places. After clearing Alto's uncommon time, you can listen to the piece using the music box in your bedroom, though that has less meaning now that you're here. It's a really cool piece, and I'm really happy with the direction of the event where it's first used. My favorite part is actually where the main theme starts 40 seconds in. I ended up making a separate introless version for some scenes so that it could start there. Alto is the main character after all, and her resolute courage really fits with the boldness of this piece. Especially given the state she's in at the beginning of the game, it isn't easy to grasp her true nature, so the long delay kind of makes sense. There we go. Does this... No? Okay. I thought maybe, but... Story of the Shining Earth, H-Mix. The opening credits of Uncommon Time are all done in voiceover style with a black screen and this background music, which is played again in Movement 3 when Alto proposes that the party try composing a new grand score. It's a very optimistic traditional type piece, so I was hoping that its resurfacing at that event would be moving. If it worked even a little, I'll be happy. Arabesque No. 1, Orgo, Ongaku no Tamago. For this ending, I decided to use this music box arrangement of Saki's theme. I have no idea why, but the innate cuteness of a music box's sound works very well with sad and grim scenes. Maybe it's a contrast of warmth kind of thing. The object of this part of the story is to save Saki, and Mayrin is center stage for the duration of these events, so technically I could have tried to find a Mayrin-related piece to use as the end of the theme, but none of her music is remotely calm enough to really carry the events of this ending. Saki and Mayrin are extremely codependent and depend on each other's survival to stay stable themselves, which, considering Saki's poor health, ought to be worrying. Yes, really is. But then, a lot of things are worrying about the relationships in this game, so, you know. Gentle Nightmare, Camellia. This piece is also played during the direct aftermath of the first world tuning attempt. Ending 5 is the shortest ending in the game, and is probably a foregone conclusion considering Teagan's behavior up until this point of the story. With all that said, the standard game over piece felt like it was enough for the end roll here. Speakaberry, Orgel, Ongaku no Tamago, so this would be the music box version of Aubrey's theme? The music box of Alto and Aubrey's love theme. I actually like it more than the standard piano version, and consciously decided at the point I obtained both versions that I would save this one for the credits during ending 4, because the credits were I love you, basically. Seeing as this is the most messed up ending in the game, and that so few of the characters involved actually perceive it as a bad end, capping off the final scene between Alto and Aubrey with this special version of an already used background music felt perfect. As long as we're here talking about a difference in warmth really setting the right mood and all. Oh, yeah. The Spell Break, Stova Syndrome. sad and hopeless but tender piece for the ending with the greatest on-screen loss of life. The final scenes in the ending are with side quest NPCs Daisy and Lucy, and then with surviving spirits Luminoso and Scherzo. The breaks in the main melody go very well with the title of the end and Luminoso's lines about listening to the final echoes of Alto's last song. Seeds of the Future H-Mix. A positive, optimistic piece for the normal ending. It's by the same composer as the opening track, which ties everything together nicely. The story does end on a bit of a melancholy note, with the party all splitting up to pursue their own lives. But everyone is alive and looking toward the future in their own way, and most importantly, Alto has escaped her family. A lot of the instrumentation in this piece is actually the same as the opening, which I think is pretty cool. And finally, Through Ice and Thorn by Camellia. Written by Mary of Camellia, especially for this game. Thank you. Oh, that's really cool. If I get started on all the things I love about this piece, we'll be here all day, so suffice to say that I love it. Having a nice long piece like this made it possible to have an actual proper end roll for the best ending, which makes me happy. Mary was the only person I disclosed the contents of ending 1 to beforehand, since she needed to know the specifics to compose. I got permission to use the title of the ending as the piece title too. That's really cool.